We get the spinning ball of death. And hey, good evening, good afternoon. Hello to everyone. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm talking to the wonderful Diane Spencer, who voiced Penelope in the audiobook version or production or whatever you want to call it of the novel Smokepit Fairytales. So, if you're not new to this page, wherever you're listening to it, you should know her voice.
Are people listening as well as viewing is one question.
It doesn't give me the analytics for
Oh,
that.
okay. So well, I'm just wondering if people, if I need to do audio descriptions as well. Do you know what I mean?
No.
You know how sometimes they do that? They kind of go, Trip looked at Diane in an odd way. Like that.
Yeah. And quite personally, I hate hearing that on an audiobook, and that's one of the reasons I did it the way I did. Because I'm assuming you've listened to an audiobook before, and half of it is
Yep.
the hobbits left the Shire, and I'm going to tell you this long drawn out story in this very unoffensive and stale and flat toned and evenly paced narrative. It's I don't want to listen to that. So I don't want to do
you know
that.
what? Oh man, at the moment I'm working my way through the Zombie Fallout books by Mark Tufo, and one of the things that he's done in one of the books, which unfortunately has grated on me, is when a character is in imminent danger, for some reason he'll then do a quick flashback to, oh, the reason I'm scared of heights is this. And it's like, dude, you've now completely skewed the story, and now I'm just like, well, is he still up the ladder? Is he not up the ladder? What's going on? And so I understand. I think there's a time and a place for exposition, but nah, not in the middle of a dramatic scene.
Well, especially if you've been paying attention to the rest of the book. Listen, it's not my fault if you forgot that in the third chapter, this person got mauled by a dog. So 15 chapters later, that same dog shows up and they're anxious about it.
And isn't that dramatic irony as well? The whole point is that you, as the listener, get to experience things, and then when they crop up later, you're like, oh my God, I know what this means. And you can get all excited about it.
Yeah, and it's been fun what people will message me over. Because I'll have something that happens specifically at the end of the 6th book, where people will friggin', message me or send me an email or something like, you bastard, you can't do this. I'm like, actually go back and look at the middle of the 3rd book. I told you I was going to do this. Not my fault you didn't pay attention for 100,000 words.
You know what I love the fact it's not look back at the middle of the book, it's look back at the middle of the 3rd book. I must admit, Trip, you have got a high expectation of the loyalty and memory of your readers, because I've got to admit, sometimes I'll read one thing and then I'll be like, oh, I've got to read the second one, and then just for life, I won't be able to get to the 2nd book until years later. Something like that happened with the film Wreck. Have you seen the horror film? The Hollywood remade it as Quarantine.
I didn't see that later. No.
Okay, so it's a Spanish film, and Hollywood literally remade it shot for shot and called it Quarantine, which I thought was incredible. And when you watch the Spanish version of Wreck 2, it's really good because it takes off exactly where the first one ended, and I love that because even though I watched it years later, I kind of switched on Wreck 2 and I thought, oh, I remember the first one being pretty good, and then as I sat there, I thought, this is the same place, and then I suddenly realized, I thought, I know why there's blood on that wall. Oh my God. And it was really good fun. Yeah.
Yeah, a good throwback is a good throwback. I forget what it was. There was a I think no, it was a video game. I think it was one of the Trip is thinking. I think it was one of the newer Doom games. It might have been Wolfenstein, but those game franchises have been around since the 80s, right? And they throw little Easter eggs in there that if you're new, you wouldn't get, but all the Easter eggs are bonus points. So it's you're walking around, and I think it was Doom 2016, but there's a dead body on the ground in a cave somewhere, and it's that's the guy from that one game that no one played. Holy shit, they put this in here.
Yeah, but don't you feel amazing because you got it?
Yeah, and everybody else just scrolls past it like nothing, and it's that's the
guy.
I
mean, we assume maybe everybody just goes, oh my God, that's the guy.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about, Trip?
I have no idea. I didn't really plan these. These are just filler content until I get working on this second book. But
You are so prolific in your creation. It's incredible.
thank you. It helps not having a real person job.
Now, you see, people say that because they say that about creatives. And I always find that I hate that term, by the way. I hate the term
Yeah,
creatives, like kind of implying that if you don't do this full time, you're not creative, which is a load of rubbish. You know, you can be
right.
creative in anything you do.
But it
Um,
also implies that you hang out on a street corner with like a beret talking about, how the, establishment's got to get brought down while you're like finger painting and trying to like sell caricature art. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
you're in with that goat roper.
Yeah, not a single pair of shoes is practical or sturdy. Yeah, like it's
Mhm.
all just vegan leather. It's all just falling to bits.
Yeah.
But like you can, when people want to do something creative, they often have to do it in their spare time. And I always find, well, I found from my experience and other people's experience, especially in stand up, which for those of you listening, that's like my main job.
And you should
Um,
all go check it out. It's a lot of it's on our YouTube and it's fucking great. You'll piss yourself laughing. I promise.
not safe for work.
Don't listen to it at work unless you have headphones on. I know there's like 3 of you that listen to this on the welding machine, so you guys can listen to it at work.
um, yes, I find that you end up doing the creative stuff in your spare time. Like I know so many people who do have the, in inverted commas, proper jobs, but at the
Yeah.
same time they're so creative. They're kind of they're writing novels, they're working on screenplays, they or they want to have a bakery business, so they keep making like different types of cupcakes. And I just love the way that people are super productive, and then there comes a tipping point where they have to become like us,
Yeah.
where they have to actually stop doing the, in inverted commas, real job, because they're spending so much time on the creative job that actually there's just not enough time, and you make that crucial choice.
Yeah, and then like when you start doing the your own thing, that comes
Yeah.
with its own host of problems. Like with me, especially, I get this swing where it's like, all right, so I think I'm gonna be able to put a new roof on this house this year, and then 2 months later, it's like, I wonder if anybody would buy pictures of my feet. The pendulum just swings.
Starting that OnlyFans up again, like.
Yeah. No, it's not OnlyFans, it's all fans. Come on, guys. Come on, here's the link. I promise. It's good.
I mean, like, what happened to the crazy pandemic OnlyFans? Like, surely OnlyFans has got like a whole server's worth of just websites that started during the lockdown, and then they were like, these people are never gonna fucking post. These are not the sex workers we want. They're
Yeah, I don't
lazy, uncreative.
yeah, I don't know if there's a like a time limit on their thing where if your account's inactive for so long they take it down, or if it's just like the rest of the internet where, hey man, it's there. It's there.
It's there with all your feet.
Thank God my face isn't in them, except for in the reflections where it's like my foot's down on a mirror and all you see is the top of my fucking
Oh
gnarly
my
feet, and
It's
then
like
like
you've actually got a foot
this.
pic somewhere. Hey, I'm sure there's a market. I'm sure. Do you know what? Niche sells. You
It,
find that niche.
yep, and it slithers right into it. But speaking of niche though, because I would say that my books are pretty niche. Um, I really enjoyed your your performance. It was great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And so does most of the people in the comments, or did before YouTube nuked my channel and I had to start over. But I also really enjoyed your outtakes. There was one in particular I liked where you're in the middle of a sentence and then there was like a bang or something from somewhere, and then you're like, oh shit, my husband's coming upstairs. I'm just gonna, and then like you did the rest of the chapter, but it was all about this fast and the whole time. I was like, she got most of those words in there. Huh.
Oh my God, that sounds horrendously unprofessional. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, I loved it.
Well, I try, like, it's funny doing an audiobook. I was so pleased that you asked me. And it's interesting doing one because the way that we did this, in that everybody sort of everybody recorded their parts separately.
Oh no, I had some people send me fucking video files, and I had to like splice the fucking shit out. That's like
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
told them
So
to send me a
first of
fucking
all,
wig.
you're getting all the different files in all different formats. Everybody's
Yeah.
recording in a different way. I mean, you really have done like you've done an incredibly epic job of taking all these different sounds recorded in different places and trying to make them sound like they're in the same room talking
Yeah.
to each other.
And
Yeah.
there was a lot of parts where no one's complained to me about it, but I noticed it because like I'm the guy doing it, and it's like, all
Yeah,
right,
but you will.
yeah, but it's like, okay, this person's audio sounds like this, and that person's audio sounds like that, and like they're both doing a good performance, but the audio quality is just different enough to where like I noticed the shit out of it. So I'm gonna spend 6 hours like tweaking the EQ like this much by this much by this much.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then like always, 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 someone has a dog barking or like a car driving in the background, and it's like, thank you all for doing 2 takes because they're not on the highway right now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So it's quite epic, and also as an actor, because I do acting stuff, you you usually have a director, and of course
Yeah,
I didn't have you in the room, so I had to sort of try and work out, not only do a different take, but maybe like, what is the angle of this scene? How does Penelope feel about it? And what is another option that she could feel about it? I seem to remember there were a couple of things they did a few different ways. I mean, when you do something like a sex scene, which was hysterical because I have never done a sex scene visually, but
it was.
audibly, it's just brilliant.
Yeah,
Um,
and personally, I thought it was great. And my wife was laughing. But I was also like editing it, just like sinking down in the chair, like, read your book, play on your phone, read your book, play on your phone. Don't listen to what I'm doing right now. Oh God. I mean, because like it's one thing when you write the stuff because it's in your head, and then it's different
yeah,
when you
yeah.
read it. And then you go to act it out, and it's like, oh God, this is making it fucking. Am I this much of a fucking pervert? No, I do this.
Oh,
I can't be
mate.
that bad, right?
Mate, no, tell me about it. Like when you write stand up, sometimes you write something, and thankfully, as you know, you go along, you get a better gauge of maybe what will work and what won't. But the worst thing that happen is when you're doing new material and you kind of go, did I really write that? And then you think, okay, yeah, should I say it? And you think, I should try it. I'm sure it's got some merit to it. And then when you say it out loud and the whole crowd is like, ugh, and you think, oh yeah, nah,
Mm,
okay,
yeah, okay.
namaste. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, don't look at the grandma while you're making a joke about somebody's boobs looking like
Oh.
baseballs inside of tube socks and wrapping around your head like a turban and having her call you the Sultan. Not gonna work out. Got it.
Oh my God, were you at that gig?
Maybe one day. Yeah, no. But one of the things though is I intentionally didn't give people a whole lot of direction on where to go with it because
Mm,
those characters are all my imaginary friends, and therefore they're all me. So if
mm.
I gave everybody direction, I'd be like, all right, hey, so say this like you're like me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then like everyone would just sound like me. And it's like, I don't want that. I thought it came together more organically, having people just
Yeah.
act how they would act in bringing their own thing to the table. Because like the audiobook's not a one-to-one translation of the book. It's
Mm,
close, but it's not the exact same thing.
which I think was a really good choice, because I have listened to some short stories that have way too many she said, he
Mhm.
said, she said, he said, and you think, I can tell when he's talking, I can tell when she's talking. You can stop. And it starts to detract. So no, I think you did really well.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you say everybody is like you.
In my head, or the characters, yeah. I mean they kind of have to be, because like people will complain about like an author insert, but it's like, well, the author wrote this, so this is at the very least their interpretation of what that character should be.
But do you have any of your characters made decisions that you would not make?
Oh yeah. um
That's good then. Well, at least then you are giving them license to become separate from you.
Oh yeah, no, and like as the series goes on, they all become like more and more stronger of their own independent characters. I think, except for Hank and Penelope, who they get married. So like you know how married people are, you both eventually become the same thing at some point. Like you're like not quite the same person, but like there's a good enough overlap. You know what I mean? Where it's like you have the same opinion about the dishes.
Yeah. Well, the thing is I read somewhere that the reason why relationships work so well is that you essentially become the other person's hard drive.
Yeah.
So you sort of get really good at half of the jobs, half of the remembering, and the other person gets really good at the other half and the other remembering. And then you both develop shortcuts to each other. So you effectively do end up with two brains sort of that are able to work on the same issue together, and you have this person you're in this secret club with, and I do absolutely love that. What advice would you give to fledgling authors about creating characters then?
Don't create characters. Don't.
Oh really? That's your advice? Don't.
No, think about this. You're gonna create a character from scratch, right? You got to figure out everything about this person's motivations, their entire backstory, all that stuff. And you don't have to like tell it in the story, but like to go back to earlier, I don't remember if we were live or not. I think we were. If someone's afraid of dogs, you have to say why they're afraid of dogs if you want them to be afraid.
Yeah.
And that's something you have to think up beforehand. Instead of creating characters, I would just steal people.
Okay.
This character is my buddy Bob, and I'm just going to write this character doing the things that Bob would do.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea, because sometimes when I've read books about creating fictional characters, because I've tried to write fiction before, and I have written fiction before, and I've written sort of films and things. A lot of the time when you read these screenwriting books, they tell you that you have to like write out this Bible of all these things about the character. And I have not got the attention span for that. And I'm just like, I'm so bored and disheartened within like 2 minutes. But weirdly, when it comes to creating characters in a story that I'm talking and I'm telling people, obviously the first thing I'll do is change the voice a little bit. But then as I develop the story, there I'll start adding little tweaks to their character, which pulls them further and further away from the original.
Yeah.
That's like you, the original person that I essentially stole from real life, because I'm usually telling a real life story.
Yeah.
And then I'll sort of morph them into something that fits my purposes better. Does that make sense? Oh my God, is he frozen? Am I still being recorded? Don't tell me that I'm doing this show by myself. Well, it says live 1811. Well, okay, this has now become Diane's breakfast hour. I mean, I say that, it's 7:18. Okay, I'm assuming that everything is still okay. I'm going to check my internet. I have no way of checking if people are writing. So I'm sorry if you're listening and you can't see me. Join the chat. There we go. I've joined the chat. I'm just trying to see if I can join the chat. Please hold, everybody. I'm sure Trip will be back in a minute. Allow. Trust StreamYards. Gosh. At least... Oh, yes. I think I'm by myself. Okay, everybody. So I'm trying to read the comments just to see if anything's happening. No, not much. All right, then. Well, I'll just talk for a bit until Trip comes back. Maybe he'll send me a nice email. So, yes. Well, I'm a stand-up comedian and I enjoy writing. I do know that before we went live, Trip and I were talking about gardens and things, and we were talking about bears and dogs because I live in Britain and I have a garden out the back, and I'll tell you something, the foxes come in it a lot, and apparently Trip, who I think lives in Pennsylvania, I want to say, he says that he doesn't have foxes, but he has bears. Now, the issue with that is that I said to him, well, do bears scream when they have sex? Because foxes do. Have you ever heard a fox having sex is horrible. They sort of sit there and it kind of sounds like this. Yeah, yeah, like that. That's the noise that they make to say, hey, sexy time. Yeah, yeah. And then the other fox will come and then they make this noise that sounds like the Antichrist baby. So you'll have two foxes right outside your window, usually at 3 o'clock in the morning, going, yeah. It's delightful. It's brilliant living in suburban England. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would never be okay with fox hunting. I just wish they would stop rutting outside my house when I'm trying to sleep. So apparently bears don't do that. Now, let me see. I'm not sure if Trip is going to send me another link. I'll just email him and then I'll carry on chatting. You got another link? So if you don't know who Trip is, Trip Ainsworth. He's written Smokepit Fairytales. Well, I'm sure you know who he is because why else would you be listening? And he's written these books about these green women. I've actually got one of his paintings over here. It's one of his bits of artwork that he does. And there was a point where he was making artwork and nobody was buying it and he started burning it, which I think is kind of cool because, well, if nobody wants it and it's crowding up the space, it's kind of cool that the artist gets to destroy his own work. You see, being a stand-up comedian, that's what I do mainly. I end up with lots of books like this. And it's just, look at that. It's just pages. And out of that, I mean, I'm hoping I've got at least a solid 10 minutes of material. Because writing jokes is not necessarily, it's not a quick process sometimes. I mean, you write the joke, but then you do have to sort of hone the joke and try it out in front of people. And that can take time. I'll just check the email. No, nothing. I wonder if his internet's gone down. Oh, well, I'll carry on for him. So when you end up writing that, you end up with just piles and piles of books. So in the end, I basically just threw away all the books. I mean, I did want to make a big burning pile of books, but I've tried to burn all my books before, and that didn't go very well because I was burning my diaries, and then the wind picked up and bits of my diary flew all over the village. And, you know, when you write in your diary that really, if you're going to marry anybody, it should be the cat, it just doesn't go down well. So I don't know how many of you are creatives. God, I hate that word. I do hate that word. But I find that we were talking about when you write.
Hey,
you came back.
Okay, yeah, no, my internet took a shit. I don't know what the fuck happened.
I told them about the noises that foxes make when they have sex.
Okay.
And then I was talking about you burning your artwork. And I've actually got a piece of your artwork on the thing. That's one of yours.
That's a Penelope too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for keeping everybody entertained.
I mean, I don't know if I did. I had to suddenly join sort of the chat. So yeah.
Oh, is anybody in the chat?
This is, well, I couldn't see anybody, but who knows? Who cares? And so that's one of yours. And when I saw it, I just thought it was so beautiful. Oh. I loved it.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, so I think it's great. So that's one of my favorite bits.
You saw that other one hanging up? Say what?
Support live artists, not the dead ones.
Well, I mean, the dead ones are overpriced crap anyway nowadays, so.
Yeah, and plus you can get quite nice prints and things like that of the dead ones anyway. And do you really want your house to look like a fucking museum? I don't, but
Well, I mean, I kind of do, but I also kind of buy into the whole haunted museum thing. But it doesn't really matter if it's not the real thing. If it's a print, it looks nice. But I got a few old things. But my sister was stationed in England when she was in the Air Force for a bit, and she got me a copy of Paradise Lost that was printed in the 1600s. And I keep telling her it's cursed and haunted, and she's like, "It's not cursed or haunted. It's just an old book." I'm like, "It's cursed."
You're like, it's fucking cursed and haunted now. Yeah, we've got loads of old shit. Tomorrow night I'm going to Stratford upon Avon to do a gig, And that is such a beautiful town. It's where Shakespeare lived.
Okay.
And so many of the buildings there are the same as in Shakespeare's time. I mean, the inside has obviously been zhuzhed,
Yeah.
carpets, electricity, etc. But
Right.
a lot of the outside, it's incredible to look at. Like even by English standards, it's a really, really beautiful place. Because a lot of the time we will accidentally smash down a very nice pub or burn one down and then build something else in its place. But no, Stratford upon Avon is absolutely gorgeous. And if you ever come to visit, you should consider visiting there. I did mention to everybody when I was talking about the bears and the foxes, and I just want to clarify, are you in Pennsylvania?
Yes.
I
Um,
thought you were, because I said that you didn't have an issue with bears, but no, foxes, but you do have bears.
I think there are foxes around here. I just haven't seen them. Oddly enough, we also have rattlesnakes. And I didn't know that until recently. One of my buddies came over and I was like, "Hey man, what's up?" He's like, "I've been out rattlesnake hunting all day." I'm like, "We have those here." All right, cool.
Yay!
But we also live in the part of the country where like the lesser known cryptids live. So like we don't have like the Mothman or Chupacabra or anything, but like every once in a while there's like a Bigfoot spotting or like there's
Nice.
something that's probably just got like whatever bear gonorrhea is screaming in the woods, and everybody's like, you got to go inside because the boogeyman's out. It's like, okay, well, I don't know if it's the boogeyman. Then you hear the scream, and you're like, I don't really give a shit what it is. I'm going inside.
We don't, because of where I live. So if your listeners imagine that London is a clock, we have a road that goes around the outside of London called the M25. It's basically one of Dante's inferno circles of hell.
Which one?
And I believe it's circle number 10 for the heretics and the people who can't drive. And yeah, so if you imagine it's a clock face, Heathrow is at 9 o'clock, Gatwick is at 7 o'clock, and Gatwick's at 6 o'clock, and I live at 7 o'clock. So that's where I live. And because that's where I live, it's very urbanized. Like we've got like loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of little houses, and so we don't really have any wild creatures. But the closest we've got are the rutting mad foxes, and we do have a park nearby full of deer. It's quite lovely. You can't shoot them though.
Yeah, you have to have a license to do that here, and I mean that license is not hard to get, but you can only do so many a year before they get on your ass about it. But we also killed all their natural predators, or not all their natural predators, but like we got rid of the wolves here. So like in a lot of places, we have like an over excess deer population, and it's like, all right, we gotta like there's supposed to be 1,000 deer here. There's 1,400. We need to kill like 400 deer now before they go ruin the crops or whatever.
I mean, it's a shame they can't cut some kind of deer personality test, so you could at least kill the assholes. It's a shame you've just got to just randomly kill deer, and it'd be like they killed Terry, and he was like the nicest one.
I mean, we don't know. We don't know. Although one
Yeah.
of my buddies, he tagged a deer around here and brought it to my house to dress it and cut it up in my garage, and that was the first time that my dog had met my buddy, and so he's like elbow deep, pulling a deer apart, and she's like, oh nope, fuck that, and like every time he's come over the last like 3 years, she's like, you're the fucking deer guy, get the fuck out of my house. I'm like, Scully, get
Wow.
in the basement.
Wow. So like I for some reason I would have thought the dog would be all like, oh, look at this tough guy. This is the tough guy I want to hang out with. This is like, how dogs go for the alpha. I would have, but instead the dog's just terrified of your friend.
Well, I mean, if you came into somewhere and somebody was like ass fisting some like weird creature in your like sleeping place, you might be a little upset too.
Ah, my sleeping place. Yeah, now I'm annoyed.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, maybe not sleep, but like nap.
No, I'm annoyed. No gutting of deers on the sofas, please. No. Oh, bless your little dog.
Yeah.
So the other thing I was chatting about while you were away is the idea of, because I knew you wanted to bring it up, the idea of how much of your story is real versus how much of your story is fictional.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
what like I was going to ask you, what's your fact to fiction, or like this happened to bullshit ratio? Because like I know with me it's like 10% of the shit I write about's real. And the rest of it's like kind of comes up in the same manner of, when you're talking to somebody and you're like, oh, hey, I crossed the road. And somebody was like, it'd be really cool would be if you cross the road and then like a Bigfoot was there. And then am I writing, well, yeah, sure, fucking Bigfoot's there. Fucking
Mine, all of my stand-up starts in reality, everything. So because of the way that I write, everything starts as an event in my life. That's what I've realized over sort of the 13, if you count a pandemic, 13 years that I've been doing this.
and then it morphs because you're a creative type.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but also you want to you need to tell the story. And whenever you start off with the truth, which is the whole truth, and is usually there's an interesting bit and a fuck ton of dull.
Yeah.
And so the first thing that you have to do is identify the interesting bit. And you want to get rid of the fuck ton of dull. But the problem is that if you just go for the interesting bit, sometimes then it doesn't make sense if you get rid of the fuck ton of dull. And there's going to be tiny little bits that you actually do need to keep. So then when you've got kind of that, you're like, okay, so this did happen. This is the truth. I've got rid of much of the dull stuff as I possibly can. And this is the core of what occurred. And then when you're there, you kind of go, is this A, believable, even though it happened? Because some things that do happen, even though they are the truth, lose their believability when you're on stage, because it's too much for people,
right.
They just think, nah, that's not like. I remember I got heckled once when it was during the Edinburgh Fringe, which is usually, people don't heckle there because it's like an arts festival and everybody's a little bit like, oh my god, arts festival, oh my god, quick virtue signal.
And you totally got attacked by an octopus while you were grocery shopping in the middle of town.
What?
I was just, never mind. Go on. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied right
now. So I got told over the phone by a woman, and I don't know who it was, from my medical center, to piss in a jar and bring it to my doctors because I had cystitis, or I was going to be, or whatever.
Right.
And this woman told me to do this. Now, when I told that story on stage, a young guy started going, that's not true. We don't tell people to do that. And I said, excuse me? And he said, I'm an NHS receptionist. We don't tell people to do that. And I said, you're not the woman I spoke to. Because, and I can understand why he said that, because he was clearly like feeling affronted in some way that I had crossed a boundary with his job. Like when people heckle like that, they reveal a lot more about themselves than I think they want to. But that is what happened. So I was kind of stuck because he's saying that's not what happened. But I'm like, well, it did. But at the same time, my brain is going, I knew we'd have this problem. I knew it. So sometimes I take the initial event, I do ask myself, is it believable, or do I need to tone it down? Do I need to hype it up? And then I start adding in the frills. I have to start adding in words. I have to start taking the things that happened and then explaining them in a fun and interesting way. So that's where the creativity lies, but everything starts with a kernel of truth.
Right.
So I don't know what the ratio would be if like everything has truth to it.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it just varies. Nothing is 100% because I would almost be disappointed in myself in doing something 100% real.
Like, well, that and like 100% real is boring, because between the build up and the punchline, you also take a nap, go to the grocery store,
Yeah.
brush your teeth,
Yeah,
X, Y.
yeah, you got it. Yeah, the bits that you don't need.
Like it's implied that I went to sleep that night. I need to tell you that I went to sleep that night and had
Yeah.
some weird dream about X, Y, Z or whatever. No, but one of the things that kind of led me to that was you had a bit about, I think you were talking about playing Killzone with your mom, and she
Yes.
got some like new like super bazooka gun, and when she shot it, it turned the power grid off, and I was like, okay, that's ridiculous, that didn't happen, but that's fucking great. Just say that.
I can't remember that bit. I know that the electricity was bad. Like the
Oh,
wiring was not good.
oh, okay.
And we had frequent power cuts. We went through like a month. I was living in New Zealand and we went through like a month where our neighborhood, for whatever reason, we just had sporadic power cuts.
Okay.
Now, of course, mother firing a bazooka in a game would not
Right.
affect the power cuts at all.
But it's a ridiculous situation that works out for a good joke.
Yeah. And there's something, yeah. So but sometimes you don't even need the reality to combine it to make that thing happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes you can have that like holistic manner of just going through life and noticing things. And then when you notice things like, I don't think the power ever went out when we were playing a game, which was quite fortunate. I mean, it didn't happen that often, but
Well, I mean, the internet went out while we were trying to talk, so I mean,
yeah. I mean, that's the way that you sell it. You go, so controversial. The internet shut me down.
the feds are the feds are onto us. People, they're trying to stop us from talking about
You've been shadow banned. That was insane when we discovered that shadow banning was a real thing.
Well, yeah, because it was
doing.
Yeah, because it was a conspiracy theory for a long time, and then they had
Yeah,
Mark
yeah.
Zuckerberg on. I think it was Joe Rogan, and he's like, "Yeah, no, we do that." It was
like, what? Okay, cool.
Did happen, you fuckers. Well, no, what is it? 2020, I think.
Now?
Our last election.
All right.
Yeah, like I was putting up a lot of stuff for like a third party candidate, and
Okay.
my Instagram got like deleted for like a week. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then like afterwards, I found out, oh yeah, everybody that was campaigning for this chick, their social media got blacked out for a week. I was like, oh,
that's insane. That's insane because you kind of, yeah. So
because like we have free speech, but we don't have free speech to say it wherever we want.
It's really alarming because do you like you have the places where it's clear that free speech is not encouraged.
Yeah.
And then you have places where we live where you think you have free speech and then you think, but do I?
I remember seeing videos when the Queen died of people out with with signs saying fuck the Queen or whatever, and cops rolling up and throwing them into cars. And it's like, on one hand, yeah, I get it, but on the other, it's like, actually, you guys don't have laws about this, do you? Huh. Weird. Like, I mean, it's interesting from place to place what differences,
Yeah, I mean, that is very interesting because I never saw anybody. I saw people with a lot of down with the monarchy.
Yeah.
Because once the Queen died, that was kind of it. A lot of people were like, okay, that's the end of it now. We don't want Charles.
Yeah.
So let's end this here.
And MI5 guys listening to this right now, she's not saying that. She's saying what other people said.
I don't think I'm that interesting to MI5 at all. I think they take one look at me and be like, no, this is just, no, it's pointless. I mean, unless we want to learn some fudge recipes, I think we'll just leave her be. She has, I mean, haven't you got to have some kind of influence if you want to like, be on their list?
I don't know how their list works. Like, I do know that, like, on our end of it, like, everything we put on the internet goes into a server, but
right,
that's one of those things where it's like, hey man, if you put something on the internet, like that's like a public forum, and then you get mad that someone else knows it. It's like, bro, you put that on Facebook. Why are you
Yeah,
mad?
yeah.
Up there to know that?
Yeah. I watch some very odd stuff on YouTube. I follow a lot of reaction channels that follow this horrendous woman who regularly lies, and she will gaslight the viewing audience and she'll fly into rages. And I just love it because all the evidence is there. It's there on YouTube, it's there on Twitter, and then she'll try and deny it, or she'll just blanket over it. And it's wonderful because all the reaction channels are just sat there going, no, you said this on this date, done. Because you can't do that in real life, which is deeply frustrating.
But it is kind of funny, like messing with people though. Like first off the bat, like I love conspiracy theories. Like
Okay.
I don't necessarily believe all of them, but like I like the drama and the story that's involved. And then every once in a while, you know, especially recently, because it's September 13th as we're recording this now, but you know, like September 11th, you know, was a couple days ago. So, you know, all the conspiracy theories pop back up, especially with the, you know, George Bush did 9/11, and it's like, yeah, but his dad killed JFK. And then they're like, what? And then like, so, well, you know, he was the head of the CIA, and like he was in Dallas, you know, the day that, you know, JFK got killed, and he flew out 20 minutes after JFK got killed, even though JFK wasn't, you know, supposed to leave Dallas until hours and hours later. Why was his plane scheduled to leave right after JFK got killed if he wasn't planning on leaving anyway?
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I've had chats with people and it has, uh, they've sort of got quite angry very quickly if I haven't accepted what they're telling me straight away. And we obviously have had a lot of that with COVID-19.
Yeah.
And I did some work for a news channel here that's quite a antagonistic news channel.
I've seen it. I enjoy the rhetoric.
It's
Especially
very much more like the American sort of channels, because you have people actually like out there making very bold statements and then arguing and
well,
making
yeah,
very
but like
sweeping
especially with
statements.
the show you're on, it's like here's
The
the
show I
thing that
was
happened.
on.
Was on. Oh, sorry, I didn't know it was a was. Um,
That's
uh,
okay.
I'll unsubscribe to them then. But it was very all right. Here's the news, and then let's make a bunch of inappropriate jokes about it and accuse each other of XYZ ism or phobias because of it. You dirty, stupid XYZ, whatever.
Yeah, it was not not the kind of thing that I necessarily enjoy doing. Like I like making jokes about the news. I enjoy doing that, but I'm not combative. And I think that some people are quite combative and they thrive on that sort of interaction. Like
Right.
I mean, even when I get heckled, I will always deal with them in quite a kind and sort of open manner. It's very rare that I insult people. It's very rare that I try to be aggressive back.
So you don't
Um,
have like a revolver of like loaded like anti-heckler insults, just like loaded into a pistol on your hip, ready to
oh
take that.
no, I do. We all do. We all carry that gun, but I choose to go with my um, kill them with kindness taser before I
Watered
get
down pepper
out the
spray.
revolver. Yeah, I'll go with my polite pepper spray before firing off sort of the casual bullets. Um, but going back to what we're talking about with conspiracy theories, so yeah, it's interesting because some people, they'll start talking to you about this theory, and you'll say, "Well, okay, I haven't read any of that information," you
Yeah.
know, because they want to tell you about this conspiracy theory, and you'll say, "Okay, well, I've not read any of that yet," and then you've got a certain amount of time, I've noticed, until the conspiracy theorist gets angry with you because you're a sheeple.
Yeah.
And I like mystery and conspiracies, but I wouldn't say I'm a conspiracy theorist. But I do enjoy reading them. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a problem I ran into back when I had my podcast, or the old one that I had, where I would run across some people that just like knew everything about every conspiracy theory. And it's like, all right, hey, I want you on to talk about this, not so much this specific conspiracy theory, but like let's just like roll over them because like
Yeah.
I find it interesting. And it always fucking ends with blaming the Jews for everything. And it's like,
What?
I don't think the Holocaust was the Jews' fault. I might be wrong
Oh
about
my
that,
God. Oh no,
but
no, no,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
Oh,
And it's
that's
like,
insane.
like
No,
why?
that's just anti-Semitism.
Yeah,
That's not conspiracy theorists.
yeah,
That's no, that's not. That's
yeah,
very bad. No,
yeah.
the
And
wow.
like especially that one, because like in general, like racism's kind of stupid, but to put it lightly.
Yeah.
I never understood the white people hating Jews thing, because it's like, wait, I have to figure out what your last name is before I can decide if I want to not like you or not.
It's just insane. Yeah, and it like nothing there makes sense.
No,
It's yeah, so when that's the weird thing, like when you try to sort of confront people with a bit of nuance, a bit of patience, and a bit of logic, uh sometimes they get really angry at you
yeah,
because you're almost chipping holes in their identity, because their identity they've affixed to this like
yeah,
conspiracy idea, which is insane. But you know, we all need a hobby, and ironically, when you go to like write fiction or write jokes, you have to sort of be able to flip into that unhinged dynamic, that dynamic of I'm totally right, I'm totally the aggressor. But I find in real life it's not like that at all. Well, I'm not like that at all.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, yeah.
Like,
The one though that I will bring up though is I found out something recently that made me change my mind on something. Okay, so
okay,
I don't believe in Bigfoot, but I don't not believe in Bigfoot.
got you.
Okay,
Agnostic. Understood.
and there's two reasons for that. The first one is that Bigfoot mainly exists in the Pacific Northwest, where A, nobody lives, and B, all the natives think that he's there. So it's like, all
Okay.
right, so the white dudes from New York who have doctorates in some type of whatever, who haven't ever been to, fuck, I don't know what part of Canada that is, but they say that Bigfoot's not there, but all the natives do. And it's like, all right, well, that's kind of whatever. But what really changed my mind was the Romans and the Greeks talked about a Bigfoot like being down
Mm.
south of fucking Egypt for thousands of years. And everyone was like, okay, yeah, their version of Bigfoot. Yeah, sure, Bigfoot exists. Okay, guy. And then in like 1912, we discovered gorillas. And the fact that gorillas weren't like known to like exist until 1912 made me think, okay, all right, so there's a region of the planet where not a lot of people live, and the natives say they see these things, and the people from outside say it's not there because when they visit for a weekend,
Right.
they don't see it. So it's like I'm not saying Bigfoot's there, but the fact that we didn't figure out gorillas existed until 100 fucking years ago, fuck, maybe, I don't know, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't see that why there's anything wrong in having an open mind.
Yeah,
I mean, they recently went into Loch Ness with a lot of equipment because they were fully going to find
Nessie.
Nessie. And also, when you think about the vast scale of the ocean and how little we know about it, I mean, the idea that there is some kind of incredible, dare I say, Godzilla esque thing that lives there, it's not totally beyond the realm of possibility. I mean, and also Bigfoot, actually, when you think about it, could quite happily uh, exist in terms of um, sustainability, like in
Yeah,
terms of being an animal that fits in with its surroundings and it doesn't do too much damage, like a bear. And sort of bears manage to exist. Why wouldn't a Bigfoot?
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing is like we didn't know for a fact that the giant squid existed until like what 20, 30 years ago. Before that, it was just some like sea monster that sailors make up, but then they started, rolling up on the beach dead, and it's like, okay, so we got
Yeah.
a 100-foot long tentacle over here.
I've seen one of those. I've seen one in New Zealand, like in a display case, like a dead one.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. And do
I'd
you know what's
imagine.
really? It's well, the most. I mean, in a way, it's like a bit sad as well because it's like mashed up seafood. But like, there's one bit about it: the tentacles that are along its arms. In between each sucker, there's a hook.
Ew.
So if it sucks onto you, it doesn't just suck onto you; it hooks onto you. And even worse, it's got the arms that are suckers, but it's got two of its tentacles just have sharp machete-like
Like
slices
knife
at the
hand?
end. So the whole point is it sucks onto you and then it jabs you and shanks you repeatedly.
Yeah,
And
you
this
can
thing
put me
is,
on the no
is
box for that one.
hey?
You can put me in the no box for that one.
The diving experience. No, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, so that's and yeah, you're right. We only just discovered that 20 years ago. So I can fully appreciate the Bigfoot might be there.
Yeah.
Um I would kind of love it if like he's reached that point now where he's just walking around holding like a little clipboard. Maybe he's got some glasses, maybe he's like picked up little odds and sods from sort of people who have been nearby. Like he's admitted he likes coffee cups. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like he
Who
started
who
studying us.
who is the woman that lived with the gorillas?
Jane Goodall,
So
wasn't
the
it?
Bigfoot version of that. That sounds right. Yeah. So there's a Bigfoot like Jane Foot, Goodall Foot.
Yeah.
So these
But
humans.
Bigfoot is, yeah, sat in a bush looking at us, holding like the little flask. Because he found a flask once and he thought that is useful. And so he like uses it to carry his water around. And he sort of looks at us and then makes notes about us, like drawing pictures on bits of wood. I love that idea.
And he's got a book in the Bigfoot community, My Life with the Humans.
Yeah, yeah.
So
There's a lot of pictures of him stealing out of fridges.
yeah. So speaking of living with the humans, and we've got a few minutes left.
I told you
Friggin',
I'd go super pale.
oh, you're not that bad. Like, I
Well,
mean,
for anybody who can see the visuals, I haven't got the right light, so I had to use my makeup light. So I mean, you want to talk about conspiracy? I look like the lizard person, or at least a vampire, or something. You got to admit, look how pale I look. It's ridiculous.
well, in Eastern European mythology, the vampires were all redheads.
And look at this. And blatantly, look, I look like my blood type is mayonnaise. Like it's, nah.
Well, knock on mayonnaise. Anyway, going back to living with the humans and wrap this back around. You did play an alien in the books, and one of the reasons that the aliens were the way they were was because for anybody listening at home, if you didn't pick up on this, the aliens were massively making fun of Star Trek. Like, they're green skinned, this, that, and whatever. And there's that part where Penelope, she went to the ball and they said that prayer. And she's like, I think I'm curious. So she went to go like read the Bible, and she's like, every time God shows up, he's like in a vehicle and he's got bodyguards. What God needs a car? And it's like I'm trying to beat the reader over the head with the rhetoric on that, because I think it was Star Trek V where they go to meet
Right.
God, and Kirk's
Yeah.
like, what does God need with the starship? It's like, okay, so I got the green alien asking what God needs with a fucking vehicle. I'm making fun of Star Trek, people. Come on.
That is quite intense. You want to make fun of Star Trek so much, you literally write a series of novels about it.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, that is what was that comedian who like lived the life? Jim Carrey did the film. Damn it. You know, yeah. You know the
He was
one.
using that taxi show.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
Andy something, wasn't it?
what?
It was Andy something, wasn't it?
Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, that's it.
That is some Andy Kaufman shit right there. What you're doing, you're just like, I want to take the piss out of Star Trek so much. I'm gonna write a like that is extreme, Trip, because your books are long. They're good, but they're long.
Well, thank you. That's what she said.
Hey!
No, my dad friggin' actually called me Andy Kaufman once. I got my ass beat for it. Because when I was in middle school, well, because Andy Kaufman did that like fake boxing thing where he like fought like lady boxers.
Yeah.
And when I was in middle school, I was messing around with my friends and I flicked a little paper football and it hit this chick in the face. And this chick comes over to like fight me, right? And like I'm like, okay, so don't hit a chick, just cover your face, let her get it out of her. And
wow.
I went to the principal, and I got my ass beat by this chick because you don't hit chicks. But afterwards, my dad comes and picks me up, and he's yelling at me, "Who the fuck do you think you are, fighting women, Andy Kaufman?" I'm like, I don't know who that is, man. I'm 10.
Oh wow! How funny!
Not a good time.
Yeah, I mean that is very valiant. That's really good. That like, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird because on one hand, I think, well, if she was hitting you, you have a right to defend yourself. But the problem is that one swift, well-aimed punch, and unfortunately, because ladies, we are smaller and we're not as sort of packed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think you did the right thing. Like,
Well, I mean,
you
it was
definitely did
in
the
the
right
90s,
thing.
and like this is before equal. I don't want to say equal opportunity. It was before the idea of equal rights, equal lefts was a thing. So it's
Yeah.
like, just don't.
I think you did really well there, mate. I think it takes it's always good to like know the moment to punch, but also know the moment to just like pause. And that's been some of the. Do you know what? I nearly got into a fight in a supermarket. Like,
You get to fight in a supermarket, Diane. Let's hear this story.
very easily. So, it was Asda, which is owned by Walmart, but it's not as classy.
That's okay. I don't know if you've been to a Walmart in the United States.
Yes, I have, and I
Okay,
know
all
what
right.
I'm saying.
All right.
So
Okay, all right. As long as we've established terms.
I'm just painting the scene. So there's three ways you can do a checkout. You can do the scanning by yourself. You can go and meet a woman who will tell you all of her problems. She will trauma dump as she's selling you your shopping. Or you can do this thing where you walk around with a scanner and you blip things yourself and then you just go. That's my favorite method.
Okay.
So I'm going into the middle one. I've scanned all my stuff. I'm ready to go. There's a woman in front of me and she is annoyed about whatever, but everybody's annoyed about everything in this shop, right? And she goes over to the scanner and I look at her and I think, she hasn't got one of the little blippy machines. And I think she's in the wrong thing. She needs to either be over there with the do it yourself and try and steal your fruit, or she needs to be over there with the trauma dumpers. Choose. And she turns around and she just sort of yells into the air, but she sort of looks at me. She went, "It's not scanning. Like, what is this?" And I went, you need to scan. And I said it quite calmly. I said, so, and I held up the scanner. I went, you need to scan your shopping with the scanner. And she went, what scanner? Like this. And she like, and I thought, don't you dare fucking take this out on me.
It's not my fault you're an idiot.
Hey?
It's not my fault you're an idiot.
Yeah. But my whole demeanor changed. And I just glared at her for, when you are going to go and answer someone and you're so mad, you're running through all the different options that you've got, but you don't realize you're actually stood there glaring at someone while your brain is saying, how fucking dare you? I thought it took me a minute, but I'm very glad that I did what you did. And I sort of just said, there is a scanning machine at the front of the shop. If you didn't scan your shopping, you need to go that way or that way. And I was very calm, but inside, I was raging, mate. And then, because that's what it's like being British, one tiny little thing will just set you off. I mean, that's why we're not allowed guns. And she sort of sort of, I think she realized that she was close on it happening, and she went, thanks, sort of ran off. And I thought, that is the closest I've got to having a fight in many years. I thought, that's quite exciting. I'm over 40 and I'm still having the odd, getting into tiffs in a supermarket. How jolly. Have you frozen again? God, I wonder if my story was that dull. He just yanked the internet out of the wall himself. Well, everybody, I know that Trip wanted to sort of round this off after an hour, because he always felt that, he said to me at the start, after an hour, people sort of go, yeah, I think that's about good. So I hope that we've kept you company wherever you've listened to this, whether you've listened to it in the car or online. And I hope you do check out Trip's audiobook, Smokepit Fairytales. And if you've got time, I would love it if you check out my YouTube channel. My name's Diane Spencer. And if you put Diane Spencer comedian into YouTube, that'll get you to my comedy. If you don't put comedian, you will get a lot of videos of Princess Diana. It's just the way it goes. Well, I hope you all have an absolutely super lovely day, whatever you're up to. And if you're thinking of doing a creative project, go for it. Be creative. Live your best life. Take care. And have a good one. Goodbye. Got it.
Are we? Oh, there we go.
Down now.
Yeah, I don't do no. It's a pain in the ass, man. Because like my internet normally works nice, but anytime I try to do something on it, it just decides that I don't need to be using the internet.
Yay!
Thanks, guys. Well, thanks for signing off for me. Then I guess.
I mean, well, I knew that you said that after about an hour, people think, yeah, no, that was good, that was enough. So yeah, that's what I did. But we can sign off properly now, and you can do the actual ending you wanted to do.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the show. I didn't have a proper sign off thought up, so I am just gonna wing this by the heels of my seat, the skin of my teeth, whatever the hell it is.
Crack of your ass.
Yes, definitely go check out Diane. Her wherever you're watching this, I put links to her website and her YouTube in the description, so you can just click on that and go check out her comedy specials. They're fucking great. And then if you want to hear more of her, well, actually, I was gonna plug my book, but I mean,
plug your book. It's important to plug your book. It's a great book.
Well, the thing is, though, is that my audience is here because they listen to the audiobook, so they already know who you are, and they already did that.
Not necessarily, because what I've discovered is that I'll put up a clip from one of my stand-up shows, and people will comment on it, and I'll think, but you're subscribed. Like, surely you've seen the whole hour-long show, and they haven't. So do you know what? There'll be people who really enjoy your work who haven't heard the audiobook, or they haven't read some of the books and stuff like that. So I give it a go. I definitely give it a go. Yeah. Encourage them to listen to your audiobook. Hell, listen to it again.
You heard her. Yeah. So if you want to hear more of Diane's voice, and if you want to hear more of mine, though maybe not necessarily with this inflection in tone, you can go to Audible or Amazon or fucking Spotify, or probably the channel you're listening to this on now, and listen to the audiobook.
Yay. Fantastic.
All right. Anything else, Diane?
No, just thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining us. And yeah, do take care of yourselves and keep believing, because as far as we're concerned, we haven't proved that Bigfoot doesn't exist yet.
He's watching you. Taking his notes, drawing his little stick figure you with your.
I love this idea.
Yeah, we're looking at you, Jeff. There's gonna be like one guy who's like, holy shit, he just called me out. All right. Adios.